Hi again then guys, and welcome to another circuit setup for Gran Turismo Sport of course, and in particular for one of the newest cars to be added to the game, this time the Abarth Fiat 500. Now initially I'd actually planned this one to be an N100 tune, because it seemed like an obvious choice to go for. It's already near to that category, it's a perfect choice for it, small, lightweight, compact, etc. But as it turns out, it's actually not that great, at least not in my experience. I found it to be slower than almost all of my other N100 tunes, including stuff like the Honda Beat, which is notoriously tail happy. So instead of that, I decided to change it up a bit and to tune it higher instead of lower, to take it instead of N100 to the peak of N200. Now, I didn't expect it to be particularly good, to be honest, at that level, but it turned out to be a lot better than I was thinking it would be. And in fact, this tune on Sports Soft tyres is quicker than my N200 tune for the Alpha 4C, also an N200. So with that kind of comparison, of course, the car's got a ton of use. Now, as far as the upgrades go, I'd recommend dropping the weight as much as you can, fairly obviously, and increasing the power, as I said, to the peak of N200. Now, of course, you don't have to do that. You could use this tune in a higher or lower class, as all of my tunes can be used as a multi-purpose build, but it is designed in particular for N200. So you do need to bear that in mind. As far as traction control, you don't need it on with this car. It's front-wheel drive anyway, so you can turn that off. Sports Soft tyres, just to give you an idea of what it can do. And of course, racing tyres will be even better, significantly better in the case of front-wheel drive cars in particular. Then as far as the suspension, we've dropped it as far as you can go, cup car style. As far as the frequency, we've increased it quite a bit up to 2.10. Then anti-roll I've got on 5, because you want it to be stiff, but you don't want too much understeer, especially given that front-wheel drive cars are prone to that anyway. As far as compression on the dampers, we've got 65, so increased by quite a bit. Then 90 on the rebound, neutral camber, neutral toe. Of course, you can adjust those if you want to. As far as downforce, you can't adjust that. For the diff, I've gone, as you can see, halfway on initial torque, and then as low as possible for both acceleration and braking. Now, if you want to try something else, I could also recommend trying 5.55 instead of 35.5. So give those both a try, see which one you prefer, or of course you could go for something different entirely. And as far as the gearbox itself, I've gone for an auto setting of 143 to give you decent enough top-end speed, but also without sacrificing too much low-end. Then as far as the gears themselves, we've gone for 2040, 1525, 1.2, 1 and 0.850 with a final drive, as you can see, of 3325, and that gives you a nice mix of acceleration and also decent enough top speed for most circumstances. And it is only an N200 car anyway, so most people aren't expecting it to be sports car, supercar level kind of top-end performance, but it gives you the top-end speed when you need it, as I said. So to give you some idea of what it can actually do, let's take it out to the usual proving grounds for my lower-end cars, Dragon Trail. Now, as I said, I was initially hoping and planning, fairly obviously, to have it in N100, but that just didn't work out. It was running 211 laps, which is a couple of seconds slower than something like a K car, for instance, like a Daihatsu Copen or the Honda Beat. No way near the pace of something like the classic Mini, or certainly not the Honda S660, whereas instead of that, by taking it up to the peak of N200, it makes a world of difference. Now, I honestly did not expect it to be incredibly good for N200, because the problem with a car that's got a modest amount of power and front-wheel drive is that increasing the power and the torque doesn't necessarily always work that well. It can just enhance the things that aren't very good about it already, such as understeer or torque steer. In the case of this car, you can definitely feel the understeer, and you do definitely have to brake earlier as well than you do if you tune it for N100, pretty much goes without saying. But the kind of potential that it has really does speak for itself, because it shocked me by how quick it was. My Alpha 4C is not a slow car in N200. It did a 2-minute 4-second lap. This is a 2-minute 2-second. 2 seconds quicker than the Alpha is a big deal in the same category compared to something which, if I recall correctly, I think is a lighter car with a similar amount of power, and the Alfa Romeo has the advantages of a lower centre of gravity and rear-wheel drive, thus reducing understeer, of course. This one, though, it really proved what it can do. So if you are going to use this Abarth for racing, I can strongly recommend it for N200, far more so than N100. It's a little bit sluggish in N100, a little bit too heavy for its own good, doesn't really have the power to back up the weight, whereas in N200 it all falls into place, and you could even try it in N300 if you wanted to, but I would be cautious about that because of course you're going to get really good cars at that level, GT40s, Porsches, it's going to struggle obviously against those. But if you do use it for N200, you can have a ton of fun with it and win plenty of events as well. So if you want to see all of my other GT Sport tunes, you can click right here on screen to see those. And for now, as always, thanks for watching.